Welcome to a special edition of the Mindful Mutiny podcast. Today I have on Andres Yael Villa, and he is the head of Pachamama Sacred Paths. And I recently did a retreat with Pachamama Sacred Paths, and it was life-altering. If you're listening to this, there is a part one that you should listen to first. It is my first interview with Andres about his life, about how he built this thing. But this one is about my personal experience in taking his sacred medicines that he is able to bring to people, in taking ayahuasca, which is the first time that I've ever had an ayahuasca experience. This experience was path altering for me. It was something that was deeply personal. This is a podcast where he ends up interviewing me, and I go to a relatively vulnerable place about what it is that I went through, the way that it has improved my life, and the things that this incredible medicine has revealed to me about me. So welcome to a very special edition of Mindful Mutiny. Welcome to the Mindful Mutiny podcast. I'm Jeremy Van Wert. I take my many years of achievement and experience, and I help you start living the highest version of yourself. My mission is to change lives from stress to joy, from stagnation to momentum, and from burnout to hope. Mindful Mutiny is a podcast about people who thoughtfully rebel against the status quo and bravely pursue their highest potential. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the Mindful Mutiny podcast because it really helps us grow. Now, today is a podcast that is a number two. This is a part two of a two-part series, and I'm welcoming back Andres Yael Villa. Andres is the CEO of Pachamama Sacred Retreats, which I have just recently been a part of. And Andres, thank you so much for rejoining me today.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you, Jeremy.
Absolutely. So
it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to hear about you and what's going on with you right now.
This is going to be an episode where I talk about my experience on a retreat with Pachamama Sacred Retreats. And this is a retreat where sacred medicine is partaken of, including ayahuasca and various other forms of plant-based medicines that have the incredible ability to change perspective, to do inner healing, to help one see themselves in a very different light. And Andres, I have to tell you that this retreat for me was very formative and very powerful for me. And for all of you out there, when you do psychedelics in a situation where you are working on yourself, where you're trying to get the most out of it, where it is a sacred thing, there's something called integration. And what that is it is when you meet afterwards and you go over what it was that you saw, what it was that you felt, the way in which that this has the ability to permanently alter the way you think, the way that you act, and the way that you interface with the world. And I've invited Andres back on here to help me with talking about what it is that I saw, because there are some things that I saw that were very profound to me, things inside myself that I didn't know were there. And so, again, Andres, I want to tell you that this experience was wonderful, that the food was fantastic. Your staff was incredibly attuned to our needs as a group and as individuals. And I thought the entire system that you have developed was really a wonderful, safe, and very caring and positive environment.
Thank you so much. I do want to make a quick note over there. They are, the Hampecs who guide this. They're actually part of the direction team. They're not my staff. They're actually on their own. They're very much, independent in the way that they run their ceremonies, right? I did create the protocol that you experienced. And when they came to Pachamama, they said, like, this is perfect, this is great. And so they adopted that for the way that they run their ceremonies, right? But you know, they're more than staff. They're like my brothers and sisters and, you know, close friends. But yeah, man, we actually have created this and designed. We have designed these the retreats and the flow and everything with experiences like yours in mind. We want to make sure that everybody feels safe, taken care of, but also more than just the safety part, that it is the purpose in which why you went or anybody else goes to the retreats, that it can be achieved, right? Like there's a transformation and there's a change that is not just wow, that was a great experience and then that's it, you know, something that they can take with themselves, right? And so yeah, it's been a process that has been refined for over 10 years now. So yeah. I appreciate your comment. Thank you, brother.
Well, the very first evening we got together, we all started to get to know one another, and these are people. It was a small group, people from many different areas and many different things. There were people who were in high technology. There were people who were in the sciences. There were more local people who just had some major things that they wanted to figure out inside themselves. And it was a wonderful blend of people from different walks of life who seemed to get along seamlessly, and because everybody respected everybody else's unique need to be there. And
Yes.
we all kind of moved into this wonderful cabin. And the first ceremony, which was the ayahuasca ceremony, it began at about 10 o'clock on the first night and ran through the night. And I have never partaken in ayahuasca before, so this was something that was completely brand new to me. And so, you know, I guess, Andrew, I'm going to kind of hand this over to you. I have a lot to say about what my experience was, but where would you have me start?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, you at what time did you arrive?
I arrived at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and
Okay,
so
so
I
you
did do
went
the
for
Kambo ceremony.
gotcha. So you did go through the detox ceremony, right?
I did.
Before coming into Mother Ayahuasca. And how was that for you?
So what Kambo is, Kambo, it's spelled combo. It is a venom that is from frogs in the Amazon, and it is. I want to make sure and everybody that Pachamama Sacred Retreats goes to a great extent to ensure that this is done in a humane way, that the frogs are not harmed by taking the venom off of them. It's just scraping a little bit off of, I believe, the bottom of their legs or something like this.
Mm,
And so what this does is it detoxifies. Now, I've never had a medication that I've been given come on that strong with that much of a physical
mm,
feeling. It felt like I had a fever. It felt like I very quickly my body temperature shot up to maybe 104, 105. It was just a very hot feeling. Dude,
mm.
what is that doing in me?
It's a physiological response in which your body and your body's vastly intelligent, really intelligent, right? And so when you receive the toxin, when you receive the venom, what happens is the body recognizes it and then it sends signals to all the systems, to all of the organs, and it's like brace yourselves because here comes something foreign that has a potential to kill you, right? Now, this is because of something foreign that is into that it is recognized immediately through the blood, right? Through the blood flow. And so once it reaches the liver has to dump everything out, right? The liver, the gallbladder, and so all of the bile and just toxins that have been in the liver, they are expelled. Some of it goes up and some of it goes down. Some of it goes to your colon, and then some of it goes back to your stomach, and then you're able to pass it and purge it out. These toxins that you're expelling, they are very old, sometimes decades of a McDonald's that you ate when you were like 23, 24 years old or something like this, right? So preservatives, I think that's the word, but basically like the all of the chemicals that most foods have
Yes.
to be able to preserve them, and then also just environmental, right, toxins from smog and things like this. You're able to purge it out. So then the liver and most of the organs that come in contact with Mother Ayahuasca and most of the medicines afterwards, it's like a reset button, right? Have heard many people say that it's the equivalent to a 10-day water fast that you go through how long was it for you? Like
A
an
half
hour
an
and a half,
hour.
2 hours? Half an hour, that's it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's for some people it could be stronger because they have a little bit more of a resistance to the feeling nauseous, so that they push it down. And so when they push down the nausea feeling, then it's like they need more medicine and more medicine. So it ends up being more like an hour process, right? And so, but with half an hour, if you did you have an opportunity to purge?
I did. I did.
Okay. Yeah. And so all of that, the medicine does its work, right? And that's the first part of coming to any kind of ceremony is we want to make sure that we want the extra mile. A lot of people have very little tolerance to, you know, breaking the comfort zone of food, and so the diet, they're not great with the diet, right? So it's difficult to say like I'm gonna stop my meat, or I'm gonna stop my drinks, or I'm gonna stop my this. And it's like, yes, I understand that food, but it's not gonna be so bad. And yes, of course, if you eat meat 2 days before the ceremony, you're not gonna die, but you're not gonna have the experience that you're really looking for, right? So the Kambo is to supplement the willpower that sometimes is missing in people to go in a very accountable process with the dieta, right? So, anyways, that's the first one. And then, how did you feel afterwards?
You know, I know that I wanted a lot of water.
Yeah.
I know I felt really good. It was hard for me to, and we'll get into this in just a few minutes here when we talk about ayahuasca. I didn't necessarily feel anything particularly different in my body,
Mm, mm,
except that I was thirsty.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was purging, and then I'm assuming you also went to the bathroom a few times, right?
I did,
Yeah. Yeah.
and after that, it just I felt quite normal.
Yeah. Good, good. Yeah, I mean the awareness of how much better the actual inside of your, liver is, right? It's not so much that you have like a mental awareness of like, oh, it's like my liver's feeling great. It's not like that, but you can trust that it is less toxic, less acidic, your stomach and everything, and the release of all of that bile and toxins, it definitely makes a difference, right? So then, what happened when you first took I'm assuming you did the ofrenda, you set up your intention.
Yes. So at the beginning of this, there is intention that you set. There is each person going around the circle and talking about one thing that they want to get out of ayahuasca. And I had my idea of what it was that I wanted out of
Hmm.
this. And so the ceremony begins, and it was wonderfully intentional. There was candles and music that was very intense. And one of the things that I was had been told is that ayahuasca tastes absolutely awful. I did not find it to be that way. I found it to be a little bit like a bitter cough syrup, if you will. And it
Yeah.
was thick. And
Yes.
there's three different levels in this, and you take the first cup and you wait an hour. You take a second cup and you wait an hour, and then you if you want, you take a third cup. Now, I had what seems like maybe a little bit of a unique experience in this, in that I drank my first cup, and by the second cup, I did not feel anything. Um,
Ah.
and I thought, okay, well, maybe this is a slow acting thing for me, because it was very evident that other people in the room were having their experience.
Sure.
And I drank my second cup of the ayahuasca, and a half an hour into that, I was like, well, I might as well just do a little life review in my own head, because I don't feel anything right now.
Okay. Okay.
And we got all the way to the third cup, and I took my third cup, and the facilitator asked, because I had told her that I had not been feeling anything. And she,
Sure.
after I drank my third cup, she said, how are you feeling now? And I said, I don't feel anything. And she said, okay, wait until I've served everybody. And she took me just outside on this little balcony in the forest. And she starts talking to me about my life and about my experience with psychedelics and everything. And she just looks at me and she says, how long have you been just completely in your masculine mind? And how long have you been ignoring the feminine and feeling part of the inside of you? And at that moment, it was like a piano hit my forehead. And I was able to access this feeling inside my body, that my heart, that
Yes.
I had apparently, I have a habit of being so in my head, so rational, so what she had talked about being so masculine. And I recognize that in myself, that when I need to be doing something, I think my way around it. I push the boulder up the hill with my forehead. I,
Yeah.
I, I get it done, you know, and there's also a piece of this that seemed to be part and parcel of a relatively complicated relationship that I have had with my own mother,
Yes, of course. Yes.
and which many people have.
Yes.
And she is wonderfully still alive, and
Mm.
uh, it's been complicated, and so all of this is something that this facilitator pointed out just in a moment, like she had just tapped on my chest, and all of a sudden everything happens at once. And I'm experiencing the purging. I'm experiencing like this kind of warm hug around me that was
Yes.
very caring.
Yes.
And it was at that point that the entire experience kind of began for me.
Yeah. Yeah, brother. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, man. That's amazing. Yeah, this is you know, a lot of people have reported that with her, and she's she's doing amazing things for women's circles and things like this. And but one of the things to understand, and this is part of our cosmology, right? Masculine and feminine. And so masculine is intelligence, drive, mind activity, right? It's just analyticals, logic, and all of that. And then that is at the core of all of that, at the core of the masculine is intelligence. And there's degrees, there's levels of intelligence, right? And then on the feminine, which is the experience of Mother Ayahuasca, it's love. Now, it is experienced as feeling, as intuition, as awareness of the body, right? And it's got nothing to do with like, the thinking. It's
Yeah.
more of a being present with what is being felt. And so Mother Ayahuasca turns up the knob of your capacity to feel, right? And at the core of all of the functions of the feminine, there is love. So it's love and intelligence. Those are the two factors, right? The two energies at the core. Now, the ego and a lot of trauma that the ego protects about, all of those things, and sometimes even not even trauma. Sometimes it's like past life experiences or just ancestral programs that you're carrying in your DNA from a great grandparent that was, crucified or burnt at stake or some, traumatic thing. All of that is passed down, right? And so we might not even know that we are too much in our mind. We're just identified to the thinking that this is the way that it is, right? And so, yes, of course, primarily, I think about 70% of everything that we are and the conflicts and what we can be aware of and conscious of, both aware and conscious, it has to do with mom and dad, like you were pointing out to mom. So yes, definitely. When it comes to dad, also, if when mom was a little bit stronger than dad, right? So then we tend to be a little bit more over emotional, right? Then rather than being balanced and thinking and feeling and being rational with emotions and the whole thing. So, but yeah, it sounds like you had a nice breakthrough. What did you go through, brother?
So one of the things that she said to me that was very much like what you were just talking about here is she said, Mother Ayahuasca does not come unless she is invited. And if you are so far into your thinking masculine processing mind, she has nowhere to go. She's working in you quietly, but she's not really, you're not enveloped by her, I guess.
Yeah.
And so throughout this experience, and I had asked for something completely different than this. I had asked for something about a healing from a trauma that I had experienced relatively recently, to let go of it. And it was like Mother Ayahuasca came in and said, "You're over that. That is stupid. That's new stuff. You've already processed that. You just think that you're still affected by that. This is core to you. This relationship with your parents."
Mhm.
And I processed a great deal of the relationship with my own parents in, number one, how lucky I am that they are still here.
Yeah.
And number two, all of the ways in which that I have not loved them with my full heart the way I could have in this life, because I've been so busy doing the things that I've been doing, building a career, moving away. When we get together, it tends to be very polite and very friendly and everything like that. But it could be closer. And there's things that I've never said to them
Mm.
that I'm actually going out to breakfast with them in 2 days. And there's things that I want to say to them that I've never said to them.
Mm.
And these things came so vividly to me in this state of introspection, in this state of spending time with Mother Ayahuasca.
Mhm.
And it was about truly loving
Mhm.
both of them,
Mhm.
truly loving the both of them for who they are and not being frustrated with who they aren't,
Mhm.
and loving them fully now while I have them here on this plane.
Yeah.
And it came to me so vividly and profoundly. And I can't say that it made me I wasn't at a point of tears with it, but I was definitely at a point of deeply, I was envisioning
Mm.
hugging my own mother. I
Mhm.
was envisioning hugging my own father
Mhm.
and sitting with them, hugging them in a way that I've never hugged them, being
Mm.
close to them in a way that I never have, which is something that a 47-year-old man doesn't generally think about, you know?
No, that's not accurate, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, you know what I mean,
I
we
do,
get
I
busy.
do.
We think about our responsibilities, and
Yes.
but I think what you're kind of saying here is right, in that it's something that we should be thinking about. It's
Yes.
something that we should be
Yes.
exploring. And I know that for me, I get so busy day to day that I don't think about those things. I'm so up in my head
Mhm.
that I'm not thinking with my heart. And that was for the takeaway for ayahuasca.
Mhm.
It was loving my family members
Mhm.
deeply and holistically,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
not judging them, and just simply loving on them.
Right, right. That's beautiful, brother. That's beautiful. This is a one of the consistent lessons of Mother Ayahuasca, right? It's a recognize what is important, recognize the roots, where do you come from, and acknowledge that everything that has made you who you are right now has been there doing its best, of course, right? But at the same time, there's another teaching, another lesson that goes a little bit beyond the recognition, right? Because we must honor, you know, those um, spaces that we come from, right? Those moments that have created us. It's beautiful, right? The main thing here is to remember that we're still doing quite a bit of work, and she will continue to take you. And this was the first time, and this is a reconciliation so that the field is harmonious, so that you can keep on going forward and doing your personal work and doing our personal work, right? So for that, we want to make sure that we don't dismiss what work do we have to do because of our upbringing. Because if we love everything of it, a lot of the times something that happens is we end up romanticizing the actual mistakes that happened, right? So it's not so much being frustrated by the things that they aren't, like you said, this is beautiful, very well put, but at the same time, not dismissing it, not dismissing the things that you know that were not resonant with the holistic part of you, right? For example, you know, there's this concept that a lot of people have heard about, which is the inner child, right? And so the inner child has a lot of wounds of neglect, a lot of wounds of abandonment, rejection, you know, not being well taken care of. There's all sorts of things, right? And so as we go through this, injustice is a big one, right? So as we go through life, and then now we realize how much love we have for our parents, that love, when it's in high amounts, that is the feminine. And so it's the feminine reawakening to the fact that we love. But then we also must have the masculine into perspective, which is, yes, I love you fully, but at the same time, I understand that within those things that I love about you, there's some things that I should not condone for myself, so that I don't pass again to my children, so that I can continue to evolve, right? So this is putting into perspective some of the mistakes, of course, forgiving those, right? And having no conflict with those, and what you went through is a healing of that. And now that's the beginning for the what comes next later, which is the integration of a new system, right? That even though you have forgotten, is not still going to be present, you know, influencing our mind and our emotions and things like this. Because, you know, as much as we love them and we can forgive them, we understand that they were not perfect nor enlightened, right? When they were, you know, helping us be brought up, right? So there's a clear distinction that says, I love you, and not but, and I will take everything that you have given to refine it and make it better, right? It's not so much like everything's perfect and we're enlightened now. It's like, let's continue looking at the different aspects of ourselves that might not be so much in alignment and coherence, right? And thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for this opportunity of, you know, being able to create something better with the resources that I have, right? So it's just a pointer for, you know, the next few weeks that you're going to continue to integrate the whole thing, is make sure that the love does not override the patterns that it is your responsibility, my responsibility to make peace with and evolve, right? Make peace with and change. That's the integration of it. I don't know if this
Yes.
is ringing any bells or
Oh,
making
it
any sense
absolutely
to you.
is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
absolutely is. And there was a ceremony later in the weekend that is apropos to this conversation. And it was about letting things go and letting and loving,
Oh,
particularly the mother. And
yes.
um, you wrap up your um, various different feelings that you have, aspects of the future, aspects of the now, and everything like that. And then um, you place intention in it, and I need to burn this. It's just 95 degrees today. So when I am able to have a little fire, I'm going to burn this as a part of completing the ceremony.
Yes, exactly. That's beautiful. You got it right there. And
Yeah,
so it was, I'm assuming, like about 5, 6 hours for you total.
yeah, it was from about 10 o'clock at night, and then I remember going to bed at about 4 a.m.
Hmm.
And the thing about going to bed was that I was laying in bed and I wanted to go to sleep, but I had these visions of these little plants and they were all laughing at me and they're like, "You're not going to bed yet. You know, you're not done." And so I'm like, "No, no, shut up. I'm going to bed." and they kept laughing at me,
Yeah.
and they're like, no, no.
Yeah.
So I get up and I run to the bathroom for one more purge that was what I needed to get out more toxicity. That it felt very, and I've talked to a lot of people that are like, well, I don't want to do ayahuasca because there's a lot of throwing up, but you realize when you're doing it that that is just toxic stuff.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
leaving you, and you feel it so
Yes.
much,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and it's cleansing. And so I had that final purge of the evening that was the kind of exclamation point on the end of everything.
Mm.
And
Yep.
then I was settled and ready to go to sleep. And I'm quite a creature of habit, and I don't stay up all night. And this was something that there was so much good energy, and there was
Hmm.
so much introspection that I needed to do. I never felt particularly tired during it. There were some visions for me of what felt some sort of like sacred geometry that
Okay.
was passing through in
Hmm.
my head.
Yeah.
The ayahuasca was not humorous. It was deeply emotional,
Hmm.
and it really put into perspective for me the thing that I brought versus the thing that I needed. And it gave me something
Yeah.
completely different, which is, what a parent would know their child needs, as
Yeah.
opposed to what they say they need,
Exactly.
you
Right.
know? So
Yeah.
that
That's
was my
beautiful, brother. That's
experience.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing, brother. And so I'm assuming you woke up around 9 a.m.,
Yes. Yeah.
right around there.
Right
Yeah.
around 9 o'clock. And
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 then,
and I went outside because I did an audio journal of this where I spent half an
yeah.
hour just talking into my iPhone memos
Mm,
about what I had experienced, so that I could remember like vividly in the moment, like what I
it's
had just
great.
gone through.
Yep. It's
And
great.
so I sat out on one of the rocks in the forest, and I talked through it, and then came in and had breakfast with everybody. And the level of excitement that everybody had of sharing what they had experienced. And some people were deeply in thought, and some people were just joyful for the morning. And the breakfast was very nutritious. And your facilitator, she was very involved and very natural in conversation. She didn't have this kind of, and therapists, because I am one, tend to have this kind of here's you and kind of here's me kind of thing. This
Right,
blockage, and
right.
I don't do things that way, but I know a lot of therapists who do. And she was very, very among us, which I really appreciated because it was very authentic.
Yes, yes, yes. Real,
Uh-huh.
down to earth. Yep. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so you had the breakfast, and then there was a sharing circle
Yes.
afterwards, right? Yeah. How did you feel? How did you feel when opening up about all of this for the first time?
So there
Was it a
was
natural
there were
thing?
it was a very natural thing because I tend to be okay with being vulnerable.
Hmm.
There were um
Beautiful.
there were some people who went through some extremely painful things
Yeah.
that they knew they needed to go through. And it was profound to
Hmm.
listen to their vulnerability, speak
Hmm.
about what it was that they needed to purge
Yeah.
and go through and struggle through. And the facilitator, whose name is Chelsea, she did such a wonderful job of, in the ceremony, helping people stay in their lane, helping people stay in their own experience and not intermingle, and caring for those people like she's very good at doing. And then in the sharing circle, providing context to
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
when they were talking about things that came up for them. And then she would teach about what ayahuasca does. but your original question was about me sharing. And it was a lot like what I just shared with you.
Uh-huh.
And it was about kind of acknowledging outside of myself
Hmm.
things that I felt like I had been missing the ball on for many years in my relationships with people. And the way
Mhm.
in which that I had to take the highest dose of the Mount Everest of psychedelics in order to access my real feelings. And what that felt like to actually experience my real feelings. I had no idea that
Yeah.
I suppress them the way that I do. But it makes sense because I had
It's
mentioned
not
that
a conscious thing. Yeah.
I had
Hmm.
mentioned that
No, I was just gonna say it's not something that we want to do, right? It's something that just happens, and it's an unconscious thing, to
yeah,
better put it. Yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, we had a forest fire in my neighborhood about 2 years ago, and half of my little town burned down, and it was a very emotional time,
Yeah.
and a lot of tears, a lot of hugging, a lot of neighbors very traumatized and everything like that, and I did not shed a single tear during any of
Mhm.
it. My wife cried, my neighbors cried, and it wasn't that I didn't feel for them.
Of
It wasn't
course,
that I wasn't compassionate to them,
of course.
but I wasn't accessing any of my own feelings about anything. And
Yeah.
later on, I realized that this trauma of the fire was coming out through me being absent-minded, distractible, and sometimes irritable. But that's all up here. That's all up in my head. That's not in my heart. And so in this ceremony, and what I had talked about during this circle is that I recognize that in the past that I have been totally out of my feeling zone, and that placing myself more into that is something that I really need to be doing more of.
Yeah, we have to balance, right? And that's actually the purpose of all of the sacraments. They connect you to that aspect of you who is present in the body and that it is aware of what is happening through feeling, not through conceptualizing, not through labeling, not through anything that it's from the mind, but being grounded in the now. And that happens through the body, right? Through the senses. And then you can develop the senses even more and more to have, a finer type of listening. Now you're not listening just for words, but for inflictions. You start to get like really, really deep into the emotions to the point through that it is through what you hear that you start to see images, right? And then you start to have like a synesthesia, but this is obviously through development, of, the senses. And it is nonetheless, it doesn't matter if it's masculine or feminine, because we have some ceremonies with San Pedro, with Wachuma, and those ones are masculine, but it is masculine feeling, right? It's feeling protected, feeling the drive, and it's a little bit different, but again, still through being aware of what you're feeling, right? It's being real with what we're feeling, because a lot of the times we feel something and then we have many stories to justify or to block what we're feeling, etc. And so it is pure feeling without so much interjection of the mind that can connect us deeper, more profoundly to what is happening. Now, the crying, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're feeling. There's people that have very little tolerance to pain or to chaotic events, and then the crying is an immediate response. But you could be highly aware, very, very connected through feeling, and still not cry, because you develop another type of intelligence that has to say something different than suffering is the only way, right? That victimization and seeing everybody as victims is the only way. But this is a purpose. Like, for example, there's a role in the Andean tradition that is called the Pampa Misayok and the Alto Misayok, which is basically in the middle of an earthquake. Think about a 7 point something type of earthquake, like a big one, and these guys, instead of running around with like headless chickens, they're like dancing, to the rhythm of how the earthquake is going, right? Because they understand that Mother Earth is speaking, that Mother Earth is alive. So it's a different kind of of existence altogether because of perspective, right? And how deep they develop those connections with Mother Earth to understand what is happening. What someone would consider chaotic or a tragedy, some other people can actually see it as, this is the beginning of something new and amazing for you, right? And then there's always purpose in life, right? But anyways, going back to what you were saying, it's so beautiful that you're having this opportunity to recognize it. Now from here, the question for you is, what did you do for integration so far, because it's been a week, right?
Yeah,
What
it's
have
been
you
a
done
week.
for integrating these ideas of opening up the heart and loving more and being more connected to feeling, being more connected to emotion? How are you sustaining that? I'm really, really curious because I know you're super smart and you have a therapy background. And so what has come up for you, brother?
So for several days after the weekend, a lot of I was very calm, very peaceful. And I actually called my mother and had a conversation with her
Mm,
and let my guard down more than I generally do. And it was very new for her to experience that because I'm not always like that. I'm not ever like that with her. And so I came
until
home and
now.
I had a lot of conversations with my wife, Sherry, about what I had experienced and how things had kind of changed for me. And in the talking these things out with Sherry and having her ask probing questions about it and challenge me on certain things and everything like that, it was something that helped me be able to not only understand but be able to explain it better. I've done more
Yes.
in the moment meditating, like things. I'm trying to connect my head with my heart, do more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I had previous to this, and I'm interested in getting into the next medicine that we took because that was huge for me.
Okay.
But one of the things that I have done is I have been much more mindful of my work schedule and how I spend my time because
Mm.
I was way overloaded to the point where I couldn't do things that were kind of long term for the future. I was working so much today that I didn't have the time to plan and to dream and to create. And that hurts an entrepreneur. And I
Mm-hmm.
recognize that I have to have a ceiling of how many people I can see in a day. Can't just say yes to everybody. And so I've changed my schedule. I have these holes in my schedule where I can work on other things and dream and think, or I can go on a walk, or I can
Yeah.
go play the drums, or I
Yeah.
can be on my rowing machine. And I've changed these things that really needed to be changed because I was
Oh,
burning myself out.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Beautiful, brother. Taking action. Taking action
Yes.
is very important. Yes. That's great, man. That's great. No, it's super important after we have this that it doesn't stay conceptual and it's just, like, oh, that was nice and I'm more intelligent now. And I was like, what do you do with it? And you're doing it. So good, brother. So good. So then Nino Santos, maybe like around 1 p.m., I'm
Now,
thinking.
Nino Santos, the way that it was explained to us is it is a mushroom that has a
It
certain
is.
personality to it. And it has it's named after children. Is that correct?
Holy or saintly children, yes. Nino
Okay.
Santos is, children who are saints.
Okay. Well, they're naughty. They're
Saints.
naughty, naughty, naughty little children. So, so I there were also 2 doses of this, and I took the high
Oh,
dose of
wow.
this. And
Okay.
for some reason, mushrooms hang on to me for a really long time. So 9 hours later, I was still flying on this stuff. And
Mhm.
so I spent my time outside in the forest that was behind this cabin. And as I felt myself going up into this experience with the Nino Santos, I was just simply enjoying the trees
Mm-hmm.
and enjoying looking at the forest and thinking about the people who had been there before. And I just felt myself kind of doing a lot of thinking about the little plants and these different things. And then it started coming on and ramping on more and more. And that's when some colors and loving the look of the clouds. And little did I know that was just the preamble to the experience. And this experience was deeply affecting to me. This is where I spent time looking at my present life and looking at the
Yeah.
ways in which that I am missing the ball in so many ways. And so where the mushrooms came in, I heard all of this music, this strange mushroom music, and the way that I was interacting with the consciousness that was on the outside is that is, Nino Santos, holy children, they were all laughing at me, all laughing at me, and all laughing at how important I think I am, all laughing at how smart I think I am. Look, there's a dead tree over there. Hey, therapist, why don't you go and assess the dead tree? You're so good. Everybody wants to hear what you have to say, you big dummy. And it was this like really funny relationship where I was being completely mocked in this kind of childlike sort of way where what they were saying was really funny, and it was also very true about me. And so it was good natured, but it was very personal and
Yeah.
hitting me in places where I know that I'm a bit much, and exposing that to me, exposing to me the ways in which that I am not taking important opportunities in my life. And one of them is that I've been busy building a business by myself, and
Yeah.
my wife would love to help me. And
Mhm.
this it challenged me. It exposed me deeply into what is it inside me that has kept her at arm's length from this? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this in a way that's harming the growth of what I'm trying to create? And
Yeah.
and why is it that I have not shared the building of something wonderful? Why have I been so selfish? And that selfishness thing kept coming up
Can
for me
can I
with,
can I
yes.
real quick, I'd like to get into your vocabulary a little bit. What do you mean by that? What is this an idea that you feel that was just amplified as a sentiment that you carry with you, or is this a realization that it's objective and that has to do with a a desire to maybe adjust the way that you're going in things? Is it more towards creating something better, or towards a guilt from the past?
Oh, great question. It was a realization.
Yes.
It was exposing me to me,
Okay.
and a vivid demonstration of the way that I could work with my wife and make so many things much better and improve our relationship and improve our closeness.
Yeah.
And that it didn't, I mean, there's some guilt when you recognize that you're selfish, because
Mm-hmm.
nobody wants to recognize that they are that way. But it was the
Yeah.
right kind of guilt in that, okay, well, what are you going to do about this?
Mm-hmm.
Why has it become this way? And
Mm-hmm.
what is it that you can do to not be this way? And one of the things that kept coming to me is, Jeremy, you are Sherry's full-time job. You are so much for her. And um after this experience, I had a phone call with her where I told her, I said, you know, Sherry, I realized that I'm a full-time job for you. I'm a lot for you. And immediately she just started bawling to get
Mm,
that recognition from me,
mm,
that
mm.
I recognize that, you know, I'm not in any way,
It's
you know,
quite a
awful
bit.
or mean or anything like that at home,
Yeah,
but
yeah, 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 yeah.
I am very driven. I'm highly driven, and I don't think about other people when I'm making decisions about how to get to the next space.
Same
Um,
here.
and that's where, and she's pointed it out to me a couple of times in a friendly way, but it was never that vivid to me until this experience
Yeah.
that really exposed me to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's it can be like you said, it can feel like a little bit of guilt or even shame sometimes, but it is nonetheless it's now think about this just in general. If you were not, and I'm not talking about any of this, but like as a possibility, but were you ever planning to make anybody feel heavy because of the way you are? Was that ever your intention? Of course, right? So
No, not at
there's a
all.
there's a recognition that check out the WhatsApp before. There's a recognition that this is both your growth and her growth together, right? And this is not just about changing who we are so that people don't have to have a hard time with their own growth and adapting to a high degree of drive that maybe they're very inspired, maybe that was the part of you that was like attractive to them in the beginning, right? So without justifying or lowering expectations or anything like that, it's not so much that it's the drive is a issue, is that now we need to learn to sustain that drive and continue to let it flow in such a way, which is amazing. What you're doing is it's actually the fruits of what you're doing, right? And the high level of energy what you're doing, it's actually, you could say, well, it's at the expense of this or that, but in the big picture, you're reaching a lot of people. You're reaching, and there's a medium for what it's doing. So now keeping that as it is, beautiful. And then we need to grow now in empathy and be able to expand our capacity for organizing, right? Like making there's a guru that was one of my teachers, my direct teachers, and you might have heard of him. His name is Sri Ravi Shankar. And so the guys, I've met him a few times in person. I have conversations with him, gone to a lot of retreats with him, and be was part of his organization for a good amount, many years. And so one of the things that was outstanding for everybody that would follow this guy is like he would have a meeting with a senator immediately after. He would be dealing with a family that was in a crisis or chaos, immediately after, like no breaks in between, right? It's like he comes out of one door and he comes into another meeting, and it's like put another hat and the whole thing, and like that for hours, 7, 8, 10 hours, and then he's walking back to his chambers to finally rest, and in the meantime, like bring me some bananas, and then he starts throwing bananas to the monkeys, it's like so connected, and every time that he does something, he's like revitalized by it. And then more, and then he's revitalized. And when it's time to sleep, they say he sleeps like 3 hours at night, right? Now, we're
Wow.
not advising anybody to go and do this, but that's how efficient we can get, right? Whatever he's doing, we can do. So that's how efficient he is with his sleep. He taps REM sleep into maybe like 5-10 minutes instead of a few hours, right?
Amazing.
And so, anyways, it's just pinpointing. It's not so much that we deviate, but we take an adjustment to what is, right, based on the information that is coming. And obviously, we with the empathy and with that connectedness that we have now with the heart, it is taking all of those at heart and taking in consideration is like, okay, this and that now, right? How can we make this and that be okay? And everything is, like everything's possible. It's up to us, really. So anyways, I do relate a lot with that, brother, because I had my share of the same, growing Pachamama and doing everything that we were doing. We had a property, in El Dorado County up in Cali, and then it's like nonstop for weeks, nonstop, just like clearing 20 acres of manzanita trees and like buying yurts and doing the whole thing. So you can imagine. And then in between there was like retreat after retreat and the whole thing. So it's been a lifetime of that drive, right? That's that passion, that fire that we're not meant to tone down yet. That's gonna tone down organically, naturally, not because of demands of the external. Those we take in and then we make those work with us. It's like making a little bit of a nice pot, and is the softness that they're requiring, that different situations or people or loved ones are requiring, then we can have that also, right? Without the drive being like sharp and go as to what is it that we have to do. Anyways, that's a little bit of my experience with it, and it's always a work in progress. It's the good thing to understand.
Well, it is, and I could sense,
Yeah,
because this hung on to me for a very long time during the weekend, that
yeah,
a lot of people during this had a lot of epiphanies about their life. And as we were all kind of going into the evening of that day, many thoughtful, deep, loving, and supportive conversations between people,
yeah, man.
listening to each other's realizations, listening
Yes.
to each other's pain, hearing people that I'd never met before
Yeah,
talking about deeply personal things in
yeah,
very open ways, in ways that you could just sense the kind of healing that was going on. And the way that this broke up, and I also had ancestors of mine that I was able to see during parts of this, that are people who are known to me. And it was deeply transformative, this experience with the Niñas, in a way that I didn't expect it to be. It was very eye-opening, and I was for hours not really able to speak very much, but I did want to kind of be in the cabin with other people while they were talking and processing their experience, because I enjoyed the energy of people talking and whatnot, even though I couldn't really engage because I was still very much in my own space.
yeah.
But the ayahuasca plus the Niños experience, one was about embracing my parents and loving them fully, for who they are. The next one was about loving my wife fully for who she is and inviting her into my world in a way
Yes.
that I haven't.
Okay.
And I come home and she's like, okay, here's what we're doing. And she's writing out my whole business plan. She's got it in stages. She's like, you're going to do this meditation class at this time to this time. We're going to start this. We're going to start. And she's so enthusiastic about the whole thing. And I'm
Yes.
like,
Yes.
I had this Ferrari parked in a garage and I never opened the door, you know? And she was so enthusiastic and so excited about joining with me in this. And it's like one of those things that, duh, it's right in front of you, Jeremy, but I didn't see it.
Hmm.
The seeing myself in a different way in this
Yes.
was what kind of woke me up to the opportunities that I have to improve our lives in many more ways than just one.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, I can definitely relate. I have my partner is sitting here right next to me, and this is exactly what you're basically, preaching to the choir here. I get it completely. But not only that, like now Chelsea, Manuel, Donnie, there's people who are doing this, and they're multiplying themselves through this as well, right? Like there's a lot of people joining this vision that we have as an organization, and then what once was my full drive and my intentions and the whole thing is now becoming, for example, we just had a 15-day training here in Mexico for people who have gone through module 1, which is the 9 months. And then she is um, going to begin serving, the veteran community, people that are, just like that,
Great.
and that I've never thought of that. And this is something that is happening now that I am a part of as well, thanks to her. And then Donnie, her husband, is doing some of the things. Manuel, men only. Chelsea, women's only, right? There's another lady that wants to come and do LGBTQ only, right? Like, and things like this, right? So it's getting more and more complex and comprehensive, and I haven't had to do anything. other than relax like you're doing with is it Sherry?
It's Sherry, yes. Yeah.
Sherry, yes, yes, yes. So yeah. I feel you, brother. That's really nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, it was a profound phone call when I called her and I kind of surrendered my I guess what we can't talk about is it's like my ego in things, and just said, I want your help. I need your help. Be my partner in this. And it's an important moment, And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I guess that was a 9-hour thing that I can only talk about a little bit of because there was so much of it that was so
It's a
profound. I don't even know how to put
lot. I
words
can
to it.
imagine. It's like, and then 9 hours feel like 3 days worth of processing. So
It was a long weekend.
yeah, that's why it's so profound, right? It's like so much in so little time. But
Yeah.
then you had the last ceremony. I'm interested in that one. How was it for you?
So this is the Bufo.
Yeah.
Now tell me this. Is this what would be considered 5-MeO DMT?
Yes.
Okay.
Bufo tenin, and 5-MeO DMT.
Okay.
The
Thank you.
Bufo toad. It's a toad. It's the biggest toad that there is. There's
Okay.
no other species of toad that is bigger than the Bufo toad. So it's bigger than frogs in most cases also.
Well, I'll tell you, I was really looking forward to this because I've never done this before.
Sure.
And I personally had a hard time keeping it in because it is something that you inhale.
Yeah.
And I had a cough reflex where I couldn't keep it in.
Yes.
But what I witnessed around me were people having absolutely life altering experiences in a very short period of time,
Yes.
coming back with experiences where they walked beyond their lifetime and they sat in pure source, in love, in
Yes.
total acceptance, love, like beyond this life. And it's, I tried to keep it in for as long as I could. What I experienced was that I could see the gates of something beautiful and I couldn't make it there. And I
Mm-hmm.
kept trying to go there and I wasn't able to access it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm hoping in the future is that I can better able to keep it in for long enough for it to actually do something for me. But what many other people experienced was something that was deeply transcendent, where they lost track of time,
Of course. Mm-hmm.
where they went to a spirit place
Mm-hmm.
that was, in many cases, provided them with knowledge and understanding of things that they really, really needed. And, I was quite jealous because I had wanted to have that too. But I have a hard time keeping something in my lungs.
Okay.
And so it's something, careful,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
it's something that I want to be able to do better. And so, yeah, that was my Bufo experience.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Yeah, if something like that happens again and you feel like you want to go again, just ask them for a little bit more. They'll be very happy to provide you with the actual experience of it.
Yeah.
But you just ask. One of the things to understand about these medicines, all of the medicines are predominantly either masculine or feminine, except for Nino Santos. Nino Santos can be very dual, right? Because it's not so much talking about little girls or little boys. It's about your personal inner child, right? And so some of the wounds. So it could be it. That's why it's dual, because both men and women take it. And it's very personal to them what the inner child is. So there's with Bufo though, it's predominantly masculine, right? That's why we call it Padre Sapito, Father Sapito. And Sapito is an endearing term, it's like little toad, right? And so it's like you said, like clarity. It gives you a lot of clarity, but beyond what the sensations and the experience is, what kind of energy you're able to experience, the experience in itself is a no body, no mind, right? So then what is left for you to experience is not with the mind or the body, it's your psyche, and it's basically pure consciousness, right? Where is how you're able to relate to true awareness and true clarity beyond what the mind is filtering, beyond what the mind is already projecting most times. And so it's a an experience of truth of what you are, and you see yourself so clearly that that's where the clarity comes from, right? And that's where the so purely, I'm sorry, that's where the clarity comes from, as far as what resonates and what doesn't resonate. The masculine, it puts a lot of boundaries for things that are flowing or not flowing. When it's not flowing, it's like the dad that says like, no, I don't want drug dealers in my house, or I don't want, something that is gonna potentially destroy the family, whether it is an idea or whether it is an actual, action or a friendship of one of the kids or something like that. The father will put a big boundary that says no. And mom is like, well, think a little bit more, it's like a little bit more compassionate, right? More a little bit tuned into the feelings. It's like, we have to do it a little bit softer and explain the whole thing. And dad's like, yeah, that's all fine, but no is no, right? And so the no's are just recognitions of what flows and what doesn't flow. And so when we see ourselves from that type of energy that comes in, it's like, okay, it doesn't have to be harsh, but it is a very clear, beautiful yes, recognizing everything that we've been doing as, a force that has been taking care of us, and it's pushing us forward, and it's driving us. That energy, that impulse of drive that we feel, then where is it coming from, right? And so this is why we call the meeting of the higher self. And it's basically what it is meeting yourself in the future, an enlightened version of yourself. The Jeremy of tomorrow, of June 13th, it is the enlightened version of Jeremy from June 12th. It's the future. Just tomorrow, you're going to have, maybe it's just a little bit of more experience, more integration, more wisdom, right? Mm-hmm. But when you get to 20 years in the future, there's a vast difference in between everything that you have an experience of, and also what you have been integrating, what you've been maturing emotionally, your level of depth and connection and compassion, all of those qualities that you're looking for, they become actualized with time, right? So when you're looking at the higher self, it's just a version of you in the future. How far in the future, it's relative to how much you can contain, like the Jeremy of this now can actually perceive as a possibility, right? But it is if you want to call it the enlightened you, the enlightened version of you, you could call it that if you want, but it is enlightened in relation to where you are here and now, right? So, and there's always more to that. There's always more expansion. It's not like you're enlightened and you can say like, oh, I'm chill now, I'm gonna sit in this couch in heaven to watch Netflix, right? Like there's always a dynamic expansiveness to the aspect of what we are, and it's never ending into multiverses and other things, but it is an experience that truly can shed light upon different shadows that we're either identified, or shadows that we don't know that there exist. And so for a lot of, or for everybody's different. I'm sure you experience it. Some people might have been crying, some people were totally zen, some people were like having an ecstatic experience, and some people were purging. I'm not sure how much of the variety is, but everybody has a different relationship with coming in alignment to themselves, which is what is happening. It's like this is an experience of realizing who we are. And as we are realizing all of it, as much as we can, of course, in those 15-20 minutes, then what happens is sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not, depending on the harshness towards ourselves. That sometimes we're highly critical of ourselves, and that plays out as a heaviness, right? Because those are the patterns. Little by little, gradually, we start to accept everything that we hold, including the shadow parts, including the difficult parts. And as we're accepting those, that's the beginning of the awakening. That's when we come to terms with ourselves. If there's a guilt, if there's a shame, if there's a sadness, a disappointment, it doesn't matter which negative aspect of ourselves we're experiencing, when we can hold space for that as something that, well, it's me, I don't need to or have to fight with myself. And in those moments is when there's something that starts to awaken, and because you're basically reconciling everything that you are, right? So yeah, it's not now everything that I'm telling you is concepts, ideas, the whole thing, but to really live this, Yeah, I look forward to talk to you after you have, the depth and the fullness of that experience later on. I'm pretty sure it was fantastic anyways, right? For
Oh,
you.
it was, and I did lose track of time for a very short period of time.
Okay.
And Chelsea, she's she was so amazing as I watched her go around the room. She knew how to use touch in the most effective way possible, and each person needed a different kind of touch. And some people needed their feet held. Some people needed their forehead pressed down. Some people needed a hand on their chest to hold them down. And people talked afterwards about how much that was needed
Yeah.
for them, and that they in some other multiverse was like, I wish somebody would, and then all of a sudden there was pressure on their chest and it was perfect, so she's extremely well skilled
Yes.
in what she does,
She is.
but um yeah, it was an interesting experience. It just I'm hoping to get more out of it in the future.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm sure you'll have that opportunity, brother, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And the last one was in the morning. We did I'm sorry. I'm blanking on the name of it. The
I'm not sure. Did you do Hape?
Hape, that was the one. That was the one. Now this is a tobacco-based
Yes.
medicine that is blown up the nose. And
Yes.
it is supposed to help you experience a brief period of bliss or traveling or whatnot.
Can be. Yes,
Um,
definitely.
Many people enjoyed this experience. I thought it was dreadful. This medicine did not agree with me, and I had a very difficult time with it. Uh, my body rejected it for some reason. It was very hard for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
and
it has to do with a few things, but the main question that I would have is, what is your idea of tobacco in general?
oh, I don't have a problem with it.
You don't smoke, or you
I
do
don't
smoke?
smoke. No.
No.
I
Why not?
Well, I was raised in the Mormon church, and it was tantamount to something that is so extremely bad for you.
That's the conflict.
Yeah.
So it's not that you have a problem with it like personally, but there is a conceptualization that it is something bad,
Okay.
right? And it's something that it has we have been they call this in psychotherapy, they call this an introjection, right? Taking someone else's truth as true, and you've been raised with this idea that tobacco is bad. So then subconsciously you recognize that what you're gonna be inhaling is tobacco, and tobacco is bad. So it's like, oh, it's a bad experience.
Maybe.
That could be
Yeah.
one thing. The
Uh-huh.
other thing that it has to do is with its nature. The experience of tobacco, of hape, is to ground you, and that's like releasing the mind. So the bliss comes in feelings of ecstasy, right? And so the mind, again, remember, it's like thinking or feeling. So when it comes to the experience in itself, if the mind is very active, like it probably was after Bufo or like the next
Yeah.
thing, then that could be a little bit of a blockage, not so much a blockage, but you get the what I'm going. It's like a barrier for us to like go into just feeling all over again, right? And just like getting into that. It could be many other things also, but those are usually the main things of why we can connect to one or a few of the medicines of the sacraments, really. But this is for a lot of people, it tends to be, and this is amazing sometimes to a lot of people, that this tends to be more powerful than any of the other sacraments, including Bufo.
Interesting.
A lot of people have such a, you know, transcendental experience with Hape, way more than Bufo, way more than ayahuasca, or so it's a personal thing, of course, but it tends to
This
be, yeah.
I had a huge physiological reaction to it. It was um I wasn't expecting the way that it would go, and um it was like a lot of toxicity needed to leave my body really quickly.
Gotcha. And so you started purging?
Yes.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. Yes, and that's actually what it does. I mean, tobacco in itself is a purgative, right? They use tobacco tea, right, for purging, but they also use tobacco, which is the cigars, the mapacho, which is the artisanal tobacco, and they call it nicotina rustica. And so they grab that, and that's what they use the people who specialize. That there's ayahuasqueros, there's people that specialize only in ayahuasca, whereas there's paleros and different kinds of plants, and then there's tabaqueros, and the tabaqueros are people that specialize on tobacco, and they spend their whole life building a relationship of depth and surrender to the plant because it's one of the two sacred plants.
Ah,
Ayahuasca's a power ally. It shows you your power. Nino Santos, Bufo, right? Chirixanango, Bobinsana, all of the plants are they're allies,
yeah,
power allies. Sacred is coca leaf, mama coca,
yeah.
and and tabaco. Those are the two ones that are sacred because they have proposed such different experiences to humanity. You can lose yourself and lose your life, or you can rise from it, right? So you can use it potentially positive or negative. And the fact that it offers you both extremes, both polarities, is what in the traditions, Shipibo, Matzes, and the Quero, and it's what makes something sacred, right? It's like it comprehends both extremes of what humanity can experience. So, anyways, going back to the tobacco, they use that to help purge different energies from your aura. Different. So it's
Oh,
a
wow.
cleansing engine. It's a cleansing engine that at many levels, physical, emotional, mental, energetic. It's really really powerful for cleansing in general. The purge is a cleansing also, right? So you experience the physical aspect of it definitely.
Oh, it was physical.
Yeah.
This is I'm gonna have to put some thought into this because um this explanation is something that's new to me. And so I'm gonna have to think about this because there's kind of a lot flying around my head around the
Yeah.
need for, the purging of things around me and whatnot. And so, another like wonderful Easter egg that you discover in the process of, the integration, after this. And I have to say, and I really wish that I could sit here and chat with you for another 4 hours, but the entirety of this experience, the new friends that I have made,
Oh, yes.
the the new pieces of myself that I see so vividly, the the personal work that I was able to do
Yeah.
in a short weekend,
Yes.
the thoughtfulness and change of pace that this has created for me.
Hmm.
I realize right now that I have this gift for oratory and that I can speak really well on a lot of these things. And when I'm doing that, I'm going way up into my head.
It's very descriptive and eloquent, but at the same time, it conveys a very clear picture so that people can relate emotionally also. So it's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I need to tie more of my own emotions into it. And that is a realization from the weekend that
Maybe,
is,
maybe more than time more is just realize that you're already tapping to the essence of that. Just like acknowledge that the pictures that you're painting for all of your audience, it's actually coming from experience. The experience is something that you feel, right? At least this is how I'm perceiving you right now.
yeah.
You're not talking so much from concepts or stuff, but like it's flowing from within. If you just acknowledge that, right, a little bit more, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that you're yeah. Not want to deviate you from your plans, of course, but this is just a little bit of a gift that I wanted to give you because I see you, brother. You're doing amazing, amazing. This is so
Oh,
good. One of the things that I wanted to add to what you just said is that it's so important to recognize that you know people because of the religious paradigm, right? The paradigm of religion, the collective, of the planet, right? All of the world, it tends to think and feel that if I don't have a cross where I'm kneeling, or I have a certain atuendo or specific requirements, then it is not spirituality. And everything that you've been speaking about, to me personally, the way that I see it, this is a spiritual awakening and a spiritual becoming, right? So the need for garments, the need for flashy things and all of that, it should be a little bit more real, more grounded. And what you're having, I want to make clear to everyone that is listening to this that this is what spirituality is, right? It doesn't need to be anything else than what we're experiencing, really. And anyways, I wanted to thank you again so much for opening up in this experience in your own podcast. Wow, thank you so much, brother.
Well, I want to thank you because the access to your spirit, the access to your consciousness, it's something that we all have a right to explore.
Yes.
And that right has been marginalized. It's been outlawed. It's been maligned for
Yes.
so long in the Western world. And the fact that there is so much to explore, so much of the human experience to have it is an absolute crime.
Yes.
That it is so deeply shoved to the side in Western society. And I want to thank you for bringing this kind of experience to the world, to somebody like me, for you to be able to pass on medicine that has so deeply impacted not just little me, but so many people, that you have helped them access the healing for themselves.
Yeah.
And so for you to be able to put together something so comfortable, so welcoming, so warm, and so deeply impactful, I'm so grateful to you. And I'm going to have your contact info, or your website and everything like that, in the description, but just so that people can hear it from you, what's your website? How do people find you?
Yeah, definitely. It's sacredpachamama.org, sacredpachamama.org. And then over there you have a wide menu of different options. So we are Pachamama Sacred Paths. That's the name of the organization. Actually is a church of Pachamama Sacred Paths. And within the organization, we have many different paths that one can take. There is breath work, there is yoga, there is Andean healing arts, something like Reiki, but maybe like 10,000 years older. And there's obviously the retreats for people that is like, well, 3 days is too much. We have 1 day retreats for people that have been in the path already for some time. It's like 6 or 7 day retreats, up to 15-day retreats. We have pilgrimages to Mexico, pilgrimages to Peru. We have in-depth trainings, for people that are looking for community and courses. We have a lot of different offerings that we have, right? A lot of free offerings that we put up to the community, so that people can start to feel like a sense of home. It's very important for the spiritual path, so that someone doesn't fall off the spiritual path and the track that they're going into. Community is important. Friendships that are like-minded, right? It is really important, and we're very happy that this has been developing organically within Pachamama Sacred Paths. And yeah, everybody's welcome. Please feel free to reach out to us, and we have a lot of people looking forward to hearing from you and connecting with you, both from the organization. There's like 25 of us, plus everybody in the community, a couple hundred people and so. Very happy to have you join if you feel the call, of course.
I do feel the call, and we will definitely be keeping in touch. And again, thank you so much for coming on and having this thoughtful conversation with
Oh,
me. I appreciate you so much.
oh, me too, brother. Thank you so much for the space.
Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the Mindful Mutiny podcast. In a lifetime, there are more decisions than anybody can count. Living the highest form of yourself is the most rewarding thing that you can do. Make incredible, positive, risky, and bold decisions to live the highest version of you. Now go be something great.